A very good evening to you all, our cherished viewers. Education USA Ghana welcomes you to our Facebook Live event, which is organized every Thursday at 5 p.m. My name is Margaret Nyako. I am an Education USA advisor at the Education USA Advising Center in Kumasi. If this is your first time joining, then this is a tip for you. Education USA Network is there to give you all the help you need in making a smooth transition into your dream school in the US. Have you heard about the word liberal arts? What does it entail? This evening, our guest will be taking us through the liberal arts education. He is Andrew Moore, the Director of Admissions for Swarthmore College. My colleague advisor from Education USA in Accra, Benis Afote, is also on this platform. Our topic for this evening is exploring the liberal arts education and making the right choices. We will then hear more about Swarthmore and lastly, answer all your questions. Please type all your questions in the comment section and it will be answered after the presentation. Enjoy your session. Andrew, over to you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I'm very excited to speak with you all about the liberal arts education and college experience. Really, the entire session is about liberal arts because Swarthmore College is a liberal arts college, and we'll talk more about what that means. If you have any questions, certainly today I will answer those for you, but if you have questions afterward, you can always email me at amoe1@swarthmore.edu. I'm happy to answer those questions for you. I am the regional director for Ghana and all of sub-Saharan Africa. I have a lot of experience working in Africa, and I've traveled to about 20 or 25 different countries, including Ghana, both Accra and Kumasi. I'm very sad that I'm not there in person with you, but I hope to give you a bit of information about the liberal arts college experience. Now, before I talk specifically about liberal arts colleges and what that education might mean, I'm going to go through a couple of points. One is that my dog is here, so I'm working from home, and this is Georgia, so you might hear her in the background and pay no attention to her. She's just happy to be alive. I wanted to first go through terms because I think terms are really important when we start talking about college and university and undergraduate and graduate degrees before we really begin. So you might know this information, but we're focused, liberal arts colleges are focused on the undergraduate degree. That's your bachelor's degree. That's where your major coursework is taken. Many of you might be interested in studying medicine, in studying law. That in the United States is handled at the graduate school level. Most liberal arts colleges don't have graduate school programs. So for example, you can't come to Swarthmore or go to Pomona College or Amherst College and study both biology as well as medicine. We have to send you off on your way to other institutions, universities that offer those degree programs. So I wanted to clear that up right away. If you are interested in graduate education on today's session, I'm not going to be very helpful because we only offer undergraduate degrees. I often have this question, it's usually associated not only when I give presentations about Swarthmore College, but also when we talk about liberal arts colleges. So I wanted to go over really the difference in the terms between college and university because it's very different in the United States. The terms college and university are used interchangeably. So we use it for essentially higher education in the US. So we can say, what college do you wish to attend? Or let's talk about university life. That means the same thing when we talk about it in that way. However, there are some differences between what a college is and what a university is. Typically, colleges are going to be smaller institutions. They're going to be smaller than universities. And I'll talk a lot and very extensively about the experience inside of the classroom and how that might differ at a liberal arts college versus a larger university. We are typically focused on undergraduates, and I'll give some examples of what this might mean, especially with regard to COVID-19 and the public health crisis that is going on right now. And then there are different institutional types within a college. So in the US, we have what's called a community college, and that's a 2-year degree. That's not what we're going to be talking about today. These are local institutions where you can start college, and then you transfer to a place that offers a bachelor's degree. There are liberal arts colleges, which we will be highlighting today, and I'll give some examples besides Swarthmore. And then there are also universities that call themselves colleges. So 2 good examples of this are Boston College and Dartmouth College. Both of those institutions are actually universities, but historically they've been called a college, so they kept their name. A university is typically larger. And so whereas we might have 2,000 or 3,000 students at a liberal arts college, a university can be 10, 20, even 50,000 or larger. Universities offer various degree programs. So of course, we all offer the bachelor's degree, your undergraduate degree, which is a 4-year degree, but they also offer master's degrees and PhDs and medical degrees and other graduate school programs. And then just to be just as confusing as we possibly can be, of course, universities are also made up of different institutions, so they're called schools or colleges. So you might have the School of Medicine or the College of Engineering. The College of Engineering isn't a liberal arts college, it's just a faculty within that larger university. There are also some things that we have in common. So at both types of institutions, you can pursue research opportunities. So you don't have to go attend a research university in order to pursue undergraduate research. You can live on campus at both a college and a university as well. So you don't have to sacrifice the residential experience and attend a university. You can live on campus at a university as well. And I will highlight this as well, you can go to graduate school after obtaining your 4-year undergraduate degree from either a college or a university. We often travel across the continent and at various high schools in Ghana, and there is a preconceived notion that a university, because it is bigger or maybe more popular, more recognized, that it's better than a college. And I'm here to say that it's not, and neither is a college better than a university. It really depends on what you're looking for and what your fit might be, right? And so we talk about fit with regard to academic fit, social fit, and financial fit. So is the college going to help you achieve your goals academically speaking? Is the college going to embrace you and be inclusive in nature? And are they going to be able to support you financially? So these are all things with regard to choices that you're making that you really have to write down and question yourself whether or not this institution that you might be looking at or reviewing is going to be a good fit for you. So the liberal arts experience or the liberal arts education is not unique to the United States, but it certainly is quite extensive in the United States. Liberal arts education is a way of learning that really employs a lot of critical thinking and analytical thinking skills. And we don't want to just prepare you for a particular career, right? So when you were growing up and when I was growing up, oftentimes my family members would ask, so what do you want to be when you grow up? Right? And it was always very career focused. And oftentimes we associate a university education with a particular career. But beyond that, we want to ensure that regardless of how the world changes, how the economy changes, either your microeconomy in Accra or Ghana or the world economy, however that might change, we want to ensure that you have skill sets that will never expire and will never go away. Things like critical thinking skills, analytical thinking, the ability to write well, communicate effectively with one another are really important assets to have, right? Preparation for the unknown is something that we have been talking about for years and years and years. And a critical example of this is the public health crisis that we find ourselves in. And so epidemiologists and physicians and public health advocates may have thought that a pandemic may occur in the world, but hadn't maybe seriously considered the economic ramifications, right? Or scientific ramifications of this. And so a person who's educated in the liberal arts education is able to take different parts of the world and better understand them, right? So instead of just using a medical lens or an engineering lens, you're actually drawing from all of the disciplines, philosophy, humanities, sometimes art and literature and music. It depends on the problem that you wish to solve. And so it's a very different way of learning, right? Whereas university experience or an experience in your home country might be very focused, right? You are doing a 6-year medical degree, and what you are studying is medicine. At Swarthmore, at liberal arts colleges, you might be studying all different aspects of that central problem. And that's what a liberal arts experience will do. In Ghana, you have a liberal arts college that was actually started by a Swarthmore graduate. Patrick Awua is the founder of Ashesi University. And Ashesi is modeled essentially after Swarthmore and Patrick's experience here to tackle these issues from a multidisciplinary and interdisciplinary lens. Just to drive this home a bit more, I wanted to give an example to you. So let's say you want to become a biomedical engineer. It's really popular. Engineering is a really popular major at Swarthmore and in the United States and around the world. And you might think, if I wanted to develop 3D printed organs as a biomedical engineer, I might really need the engineering skill set, right? How do I technically do this? And that is absolutely true. And institutions, whether or not it's a liberal arts college, will provide you that skill set so that you are a qualified, prepared engineer. But to be an even better biomedical engineer, our faculty and faculty at liberal arts colleges who offer engineering believe that engineering is inherently about solving human problems. So not only are you designing 3D printed organs, but you have to understand how that client or how that person interacts with their local environment and how that connects to all different disciplines. For example, understanding history and the evolution of biotechnology and how things have progressed over time might be really interesting and helpful to you as a biomedical engineer, right? And so maybe taking some history courses and tying those in with your thesis work or your capstone experience might be helpful. Understanding elements of economics and public health, right? So patient access to 3D printed organs in the context of health insurance system laws and societal trends. In the United States, our health insurance is very complicated. It's often tied to employers. It's not a national health system like many other countries. And so understanding, does a person, a patient, even have access to this technology? Can they afford it? Right? What are the economics behind this? That might be something you would want to know as an engineer and how you design your system. And then even the philosophy, should we even be developing new technologies, right? And so when we're talking about cloning, should we be cloning organisms, right? Animals, people, etc. What are the ethical issues with safety, affordability, and extended lifespan, right? How does a 3D printed organ extend the lifespan of that client? And is that ethical in nature, right? So this is the type of education that you're going to get from a liberal arts institution. And I should note that a liberal arts education can be found at universities as well. It's where you're taking a set number of courses within the humanities, natural sciences, social sciences. I just happen to think, and I know I'm biased, that a liberal arts college does this even better than larger institutions. So why might you be considering a liberal arts college? Well, just to dispel some maybe myths even associated with the word, you might think a liberal arts college doesn't offer things like the hard sciences or engineering. It's more about art and theater and music, and that's not true. We do offer art and music and theater, but we offer biology and chemistry and environmental sciences and political science and economics and history and peace and conflict studies, right? So a broad array of courses that you can take. And that's really important to liberal arts colleges. The residential experience is also very important. Now, with regard to COVID-19, obviously colleges and universities across the United States are making different decisions. Some of us are bringing our students back and trying to have as residential of an experience as possible. Some are completely going online, right, because of public health concerns. And so while this year might look a little different, typically about 95% of our students live on our campus all 4 years. And that's going to be really important to liberal arts colleges and really important to your education. Small class sizes and populations are sort of a hallmark of small colleges and small liberal arts colleges. We want to ensure that you are not just a number, that you don't walk just into a lecture hall with 300 to 500 students sitting there and one faculty member. We would rather that class be 20 or 25 students. And that's really intentional on our part, because we want you to develop relationships with world-class faculty who are at the height of their academic profession, so that you get to ask your questions and learn directly from them and get to know their families and walk their dogs and have dinner with them. That relationship building is really important to us. Liberal arts colleges emphasize discussion-based and not lecture-based learning. So we want to ensure, again, that those conversations are happening inside of our classrooms. And another hallmark of liberal arts institutions is that there are generous resources. I'm not saying you can't find these resources at larger institutions, larger universities, but I think the COVID-19 crisis is a really good example of the way that we take care of our students, right? And so when COVID-19 hit, the students that could return home, either in the US or abroad, we ensured that they could get home, right? We paid for a lot of plane tickets, a lot of bus tickets, et cetera, wherever you might have lived. Some students, though, were not able to return home. Either there are government restrictions not allowing flights from the United States to go. We still have some international students housed on our campus, and we are feeding them and we are ensuring that they are safe and healthy, right? And I think that that really is a testament to a small college experience where we are focused on you as an undergraduate student. Think about an institution with a medical center, right? A university with a school of medicine and large hospitals associated with them. When the public health crisis hit, you could question whether or not their focus was on their undergraduate students and ensuring that they could return home safely. Perhaps they were overloaded with clients and patients in those hospitals, more so than perhaps we would, because we don't have a medical center, right? And so just think about that kind of experience and how that might differentiate your experience as a student at maybe a small liberal arts college or a larger university. With regard to those resources, we have plentiful financial aid. We offer funding for internships. We are ensuring even some of our international students have part-time jobs on campus or virtually, so that you can get wages, you can get paid for that experience. And then, of course, while you are studying abroad in the United States, if you attended Swarthmore or a liberal arts college here, you also have those opportunities to go elsewhere. I think one of the most important things, though, is that you're surrounded by students who absolutely love to learn, and you're surrounded by a very caring and supportive community of faculty, staff, and students. Some examples of other liberal arts colleges, and there are probably a few hundred liberal arts colleges. So this is just a very short list, but Barnard College is a college for women in New York City, and they are next to Columbia University and can take courses there. Carleton College is in Minnesota, a selective liberal arts college. Davidson is in North Carolina, Grinnell in Iowa, Kenyon in Ohio, right? So you have liberal arts colleges across the entire country. And then you'll also see a few of those, again, with university titles. Transylvania University or Wesleyan University are liberal arts colleges, but you might think that they're larger institutions. It is confusing, I understand that. And so I certainly want to clear up any questions that you might have about that. And I'm happy to take those questions. And then finally, I don't have a slide on this, but I wanted to talk just about the value, right, of a liberal arts education, and how do you find value? What does it mean to find value, right? So one of those is just the experience that you're going to receive, right? Being immersed in a really diverse place with students coming from all over the world within a residential setting, that's an experience that you might not find elsewhere. The education and the quality of education, and I've sort of driven this home, that when you are in a class of 5 students with a faculty member, you have all the attention of that person versus a larger lecture hall. And then certainly a platform for your future. So we want to ensure not only do you receive these unexpired skill sets, that you receive the skill sets associated with your profession and what you might want to do, but where are you going to go afterward? Are you going to become a scientist or a physician, or are you going to be in arts and media or film or music? Are you going to go into consulting or finance? Are you going to go directly onto a full-time employment opportunity or graduate school? And I think what is wonderful about the college experience at Swarthmore is that we don't have graduate programs, right? Like I said, we only focus on the undergraduate students. So we have to send our students on to really great places for their graduate studies. And if you look at the most popular places where the most students go, they are the places you're familiar with: Harvard, University of Pennsylvania, Yale, Princeton, University of Chicago, Columbia, MIT, Oxford, and Stanford. Those are the places that we send our graduates onto. And so the true value is, what kind of platform are we giving you for your future? So with that, that's a little bit about liberal arts institutions and education and the value of that experience. I wanted to talk for the next 20 minutes about Swarthmore College, and first start with where we are located. We are located just outside of the city of Philadelphia. So Philadelphia is the 5th largest city in the United States. We're about an hour and 15 minutes by train from New York City, about 2 hours or so from Washington, D.C. We're on the East Coast, on the Eastern Seaboard, so it's pretty easy to get to and from other East Coast cities. But we are in the suburbs of Philadelphia, which means that we are a 25-minute train ride from downtown Philadelphia. We are a national arboretum. It's called the Scott Arboretum. So really beautiful park-like atmosphere. This is our amphitheater where our students have first collection as well as graduation ceremonies. Sometimes you have class out here as well. It's an incredibly beautiful campus. All the trees and shrubs and trees changing colors in the fall and the spring. So you can see sort of this park-like campus where you can play Frisbee, or you can have class out on the lawn. That's going to be an important part of your experience. And certainly nature is really important to us. There are walking trails, hiking trails, biking trails, an outdoor amphitheater, a creek on campus. So certainly a place where you're going to be immersed in the environment, even though we have connections to the city of Philadelphia. So we are about 11 miles or maybe 15 kilometers away from downtown Philadelphia. If you walk to the foot of campus, you will find a train station here, which will get you into the city of Philadelphia in about 25 minutes or so. And so you can take advantage of everything that the city has to offer: world-class art museums and restaurants. You can use it for an internship hub. So if you wanted to create your class schedule so that you partake in an internship every Monday, you could do that. You can also take courses at other colleges. It's called the Tri-College Consortium. So you can take courses at Bryn Mawr College, Haverford College, and the University of Pennsylvania, and that's all for free. So we want to ensure that you have access to a major city, and the Philadelphia International Airport that goes to Europe and goes to other places across across the world, is about a 15-minute drive from our campus. So we're not sort of one of these colleges without access to major cities close to us. We want to ensure that if you attend Swarthmore, you are surrounded by diverse perspectives. Everyone from small towns and rural areas to large cities. About 43% of our students are domestic students of color, and 14% are international or undocumented here in the United States. We also have about 21% of our students who are like me, first in their family to attend college, low-income students as well, students coming from more than a dozen countries across sub-Saharan Africa. Ms. Bernice wanted me to share with you some of the schools where we've admitted students in Ghana, and we have students. So Mthansipim, we have 3 students, Lincoln Community School, SOS Herman Minor, Accra Academy, Presbyterian Boys, Ghana International School, East Airport International, Wesley Girls, Liberty American. while we are a selective school, we have a long history with Ghana. And so we are looking at the students who are going to contribute and thrive on our campus because you're bringing your experiences to Swarthmore. And that's going to be really, really important to us. So the classroom conversations are just much more interesting when you're surrounded by diverse perspectives, religious diversity, political diversity, students coming from different family structures. All of that is really important to us. And that's what we elevate in the admissions process. Now, a few things that make us very different from other liberal arts colleges and other universities, I wanted to highlight those because I think it's easy, or it's relatively easy to sit in on these virtual sessions and we sort of say the same things over and over again as admission officers. And I wanted to differentiate us from other institutions. So first of all, something that makes us pretty different is that your first semester at Swarthmore is pass-fail. This is credit, no credit. So you're not getting any grades or marks on your transcript that first semester. We want to ensure that you can take some academic risks, right? You can maybe take a class that's outside of your comfort zone. If you're more of a math and science student, we want you to take anthropology or art history, learn a new foreign language. It also enables you to get to know your roommate and join student organizations and figure out where the coffee shops are and the dining halls and everything else that comes with coming to the United States. I'm not going to lie to you, culture shock is certainly something that our students go through when they come from abroad. And so there's a big transition period of how does this place work? How does the United States work? What is culture like on campus? So we want to ensure that you can focus on those other things of that transition before getting an A, getting a B, getting a C on your transcript. And so that's really important your first semester. After your first semester, you can take 4 additional classes as pass-fail when you're an upperclassman. So you can continue taking some of those academic risks. So if you wanted to take an organic chemistry class and you're really not sure how well you're going to do, you have beyond the midway point of that semester to make the decision whether or not that class is going to be pass-fail. So you can use it strategically if you'd like. The second thing that makes us really different as a college is that we do not publish a grade point average. So there's no cumulative average like you might have in your secondary school, where depending on how well you do, you have this number that you're constantly chasing after. We don't have a dean's list. We don't have a class rank system. We don't have an honors college or a traditional sort of headmaster's list, right? We don't have anything that makes you academically different or somehow better than another student. And it harkens back to the way we were founded. We were founded as a Quaker college. So the Religious Society of Friends founded us. And they believe that everyone has a light inside of them and that your light is no brighter or dimmer than my light. And so what that means inside of our classrooms is that your voice is no more or less important than other voices in that classroom, including your faculty member. You often call your faculty member by their first name. You get to know them in really intentional ways, like I talked about earlier. And we want to ensure that you have this cooperative, collegial, and really supportive learning environment without regard to that competition that sometimes happens. And I've worked with students coming from Ghana and coming from West Africa as well. I know that it can be sometimes very competitive in your schools. So we want to remove that competition. We want you to focus on learning for learning's sake. And that's super duper important to us. I've talked a bit about the faculty connections, but our faculty want to teach at a place like Swarthmore because they get to teach you, they get to work with you, they get to do research alongside you. So we set aside $800,000 a year just for student research projects so that you can partake in what type of research you want to do. That might be in sociology or doing an ethnography. We have research that is trying to preserve languages that are going extinct, especially in the South Pacific Islands. So we take students to some of these remote islands to do an oral recording history so that those languages are preserved, right? So this is the type of place where faculty are at the cornerstone of the experience and you get to know them really well and you formulate these relationships that'll last a lifetime. Another thing that makes us different, you heard me talking about engineering a bit earlier, most liberal arts colleges do not offer engineering. We are one of a handful, 5 or 6 colleges in the entire United States to offer engineering within a liberal arts context. So of course, you can study theater and performing and arts, and you can take English classes and political science classes, but you also have that ability to graduate as an engineer. And this is a 4-year ABET accredited engineering program. You study all of the foundational principles of engineering and how those principles relate to one another, so that when you graduate, you can become any type of engineer that you wish. Chemical engineering, biomedical, electrical, mechanical, civil, computer, whatever type of engineering discipline that you want to pursue, you're able to pursue. So we want to ensure that you have those options and that you don't have to wait until graduate school to pursue engineering or sacrifice what you want to do and instead major in biology or chemistry. Outside of the classroom, we have about 100 student organizations, clubs, activities, teams. We have a number of a cappella groups, bands, orchestras, choirs. We have really incredible academically related and cultural affinity groups like the Black Cultural Center, the Intercultural Center, Women's Center, the International Student Center, where you probably will find yourself a lot of the times. We have an international student advisor. We pair you with families in the community so that you can understand kind of American culture and values and have dinner with a family that is maybe not a faculty member or your roommate. So this is a really active campus. Of course, with the pandemic, it's going to look a little different this year, but we hope to return to normal in the coming time. We also offer 22 Division III athletic teams. So you have a number of options if you wanted to just go to the games. We have a cash-free campus, which means that you're not taking money out of your pocket to pay for athletic games or film screenings or academic lectures or laundry or printing. All of that is free to you as a Swarthmore student. We also have a new program this year where books are also included in your cost of attendance. So you actually will get a stipend on your Swarthmore ID, so you can go to the book center and you don't have to take money out of your pocket to pay for those types of things. We also offer intramural sports and club sports. So if you wanted to take advantage of being active on our campus, you certainly have that ability as well. And then I talked a little bit about the Tri-College Consortium with Bryn Mawr College and Haverford College. Not only can you take courses at the other two campuses, but there's a free shuttle that goes between the campuses sort of all day, every day. It takes about 20 minutes or so. So you can take courses there, but you can also participate in any of their social activities. You can eat in their dining halls for free. If you wanted to take a course at the University of Pennsylvania, you hop on the train, get to Penn's campus in about 22 minutes. We also reimburse you for that train ticket each week. So just expanding your horizons. We have 600 courses that we offer at Swarthmore, literally thousands across the other 3 colleges as well. So there's a lot of ability to be flexible in your learning. We're looking for students who are flexible. We're looking for students who are intellectually curious, who also have a social consciousness about them, understanding that we are a small part of the world around us and how do we contribute to make that world a better place. So that's a little bit about Swarthmore, and now I wanted to talk about the admissions process and financial aid and how that works, because I think that's really important. So the way that we review your application is what's called holistic review. We look at all aspects of your application. There's not just a set of marks or grades that will get you into Swarthmore. There's not just a great essay that you can write that gets you into Swarthmore. It really is absolutely everything. The first question we ask is, are you going to be academically successful at Swarthmore? So we look at things. If you're a gap year student and you've taken the West African exams, we'll look at those. If you just have your school transcript and you wanted to submit that, we'll look at that. Anything that we can point to understand how you're going to academically be at Swarthmore is really important. We have suspended standardized testing requirements, just like many other colleges. The SAT and the ACT is not required for admission for the upcoming 2 years at least. So if you are a student who's entering in fall of 2021 or fall of 2022, While we usually require the SAT or ACT, it is no longer required. So if you'd like to submit that to us, great. If you're not able to test, we do not want you sacrificing your health and safety in order to take a standardized test. So we'd rather you stay home. We'd rather you not take that test. So it's completely optional, and it's up to you whether or not you submit that to us, even if you take it. And we don't require that you take it. Your essays and writing samples are important to us. So there's one main personal statement or essay. We're part of the Common application. That's usually how students will apply to us. And there are 5 or 6 prompts on the Common application. We ask you to just tell us who you are, where do you come from, where do you want to go in life? Tell us an interesting story. It's important to differentiate yourself in the pool. So it's not enough for you to say, I'm coming from Ghana because we have 100 applications coming from Ghana. And so it's more about what your personality is like. What do you value? Do you want to share an intellectual exercise with us? Do you want to talk about your siblings or your family members? Whatever it might be, we want it to be about you and you alone. Things that you're doing outside of the classroom are also important. Again, we understand that this public health crisis has really changed things. Your school may have closed, you may not be able to do clubs and activities any longer, and that's okay. Perhaps your responsibilities increased at home when you returned home and you're taking care of younger siblings or nieces and nephews. We want to know about that. So please talk about literally anything that you're doing when you're not sitting in class. And that's what we would consider an extracurricular activity. And then finally, letters of recommendation. So what do others have to say about you? This is sometimes a school counselor, and some of you have school counselors. It might be a principal or a headmaster as well, and that's okay. We also ask teachers write about you in their letters of recommendation. So how to apply? The application is open. Like I said, the most common way or the most universal way is the Common application, but we also accept the Coalition application and the QuestBridge application. That is open as of this past weekend. So if you are applying for fall 2021, you can start right now. You can create a login and your profile and add Swarthmore to your list. We do require a Swarthmore short answer. We have 3 prompts. You answer one of those in about 150 to 250 words. If you go to our website at swarthmore.edu and you go to the admissions office, you can see what those prompts are. We also waive application fees for all students in Ghana and all students in Africa. So you should have a link. If you don't already have it, we will send it out to you during the session. It's called SWAT Pass. And SWAT Pass is a way for you to get an application fee waiver, as well as for us to send you additional information. So you can say, I came to your session, I'm interested in Swarthmore, and we will send you relevant information as an international student, including the $60 application fee waiver. We also require, like I said, the recommendations, the transcript if you have leaving examinations, and then your recommendations from teachers. Options to apply. In the United States, there are different options to apply. We have 2 options, regular decision and early decision. Regular decision, you apply by January 1st. You hear back from us by April 1st, and you have until May 1st to make that decision. That's where most of our students are applying, and that's where the most competition is for spots. So if you can't decide whether or not Swarthmore is a good place for you, but you want to apply, regular decision is a good idea. We don't offer rolling admission, but you can see here some colleges do. And we also don't offer early action. That's applying early, but you have until May 1st to make that decision. We employ what's called early decision. And this is how a majority of students coming from Ghana and West Africa are coming to Swarthmore, is by applying early decision. It's a binding program. You're agreeing, if admitted, I will enroll in the fall and I will withdraw my applications from other colleges and universities. And I wanted to go over some just general numbers. This isn't super specific down to the one application, but this is generally how it happens. We might have 800 applications for early decision. We admit 200 and 200 come because it's binding, right? The other 8,000 applications might come in regular decision. We have 800 spots that we can make available, and about 200 will say yes. So maybe 400 students will start with us, but you can see the admit rate is going to be very different from early decision to regular decision. You should only be applying early decision if we are your #1 choice. And if you're worried about financial aid, we do have generous financial aid for you that I'll talk about in just a moment. We do publish this on our website. This is our timeline of when to apply. So again, All applications open August 1st. You have different deadlines based on whether or not you apply fall early decision, winter early decision, or regular decision. You hear back from us at different times, and the financial aid deadline is the same deadline as admissions. We do our financial aid with a separate process. With regard to the basics of financial aid, in the United States, there's typically two forms. Merit-based aid, so that's for a merit or a talent that you're going to bring to that college campus. And there are lots of colleges that offer merit scholarships to students. We place nearly all of our resources into need-based financial aid. How much do you need to attend Swarthmore? And we go through financial documents to make that determination. In a financial aid offer, usually you'll find three things. Scholarships and grants or free money. That's the best kind of money because you don't need to pay it back to us. Work study or a part-time job. This is a paycheck that you get every 2 weeks after working on campus, like being a tour guide or answering phones or filing papers. And then there are usually loans. However, Swarthmore does not include loans in financial aid. So we have replaced all loans with additional grant-based assistance or scholarships. So more free money to you instead of having to pay it back afterward. For the financial aid application, you might be familiar with these two things. One is called the CSS profile. It's through the College Board. It's an online program. And if you complete it, you have to pay to submit it. We don't require that you submit that to us, at least not right away. You can fill out the free International Student Financial Aid application instead, which becomes available in October. So for Swarthmore's financial aid, we meet 100% of your determined financial need, and we use the CSS profile or the International Student Financial Aid application, and our financial aid awards are completely grant-based assistance plus a part-time job, so they're loan-free. So essentially, we add up what you need to go to Swarthmore and actually thrive on campus. We subtract what your family can pay for, so every family is different. If your family can afford $1,000 US every year, then that's what they will pay. And the rest of it is on us. The rest of it is your financial aid award. So with that, I'm at about 20 minutes or so for questions. And if you have questions, you can reach out to me directly. You can also email us at admissions@swarthmore.edu. But at this time, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and turn it over to my colleagues who are going to read out your questions to me.
Thank you so much, Andrew. That was a wonderful presentation. I really enjoyed your presentation. To our cherished viewers, you are watching Education USA Ghana Facebook Live event. Andrew touched on the liberal arts education and also gave us more information about Swarthmore College. Now, this is the question and answer session. Kindly type your questions in the comments section so that we can answer all your questions for you. So Andrew, I have some questions for you.
Okay.
And my first question is, I am an undergraduate and wish to further my education in theater arts. I don't have the financial capacity to achieve my goals. Yeah. How can you help?
I'm going to assume that this is a current undergraduate at a Ghanaian university. And so if that is the case, unfortunately, we do not offer financial aid to international transfer students. There are some colleges and universities in the United States that will, and what I recommend is that this student work with Education USA to identify some options. But we don't offer transfer student financial aid for international students. So we're not the best option for you. I wish you well on your journey. I'm sure that there are wonderful institutions that will accept you, but we unfortunately are not in a position to do that.
You talked about transfer students. Can you throw more light on the transfer student, yes, who the transfer student is? Because I have a question here and it reads, I am a second year undergraduate student in Ghana. Will it be possible for me to transfer to your college?
It is possible to transfer to Swarthmore. It is a highly selective process, just like our first year experience. However, because we don't offer financial aid to international transfer students, students need to be able to pay their entire way to Swarthmore. So that's about $75,000 US a year. Some students can afford that and some students cannot afford that. And so we're sensitive to that, but any international students who wish to transfer need to be prepared to prove to a consular officer that they're able to pay about $75,000 a year. The way that we classify students is that if you have attended university and you've attended approximately 1 year or more, you are considered an international transfer student. If you're a US citizen or permanent resident of the United States, which we have certainly some in Ghana, you are not an international transfer student. You're a domestic transfer student, and we will provide financial aid to you, and we will meet 100% of your needs. So it gets really specific depending on the student circumstances. So I encourage students to reach out to me directly or reach out to Education USA to discuss your circumstances. But most students who start at university, even if you want to give up the credit and you say, no, it's okay, I don't need the credit, you're still considered a transfer student. And we do require that you report any high school or college or university that you've ever attended during the admissions process.
Thank you very much, Andrew. I have another question. In your presentation, you made mention of the common application and also the CSS profile. Now, is there any payments required for the CSS profile as well as the common application?
Good question. Generally, yes. Most colleges, so when you complete the common application and you develop a profile and you have a password and login, you can add colleges to your list. We hope that you don't just apply to Swarthmore. You have a balanced list of 5, 10, maybe more than that, colleges and universities on your list. Every college will either charge a fee, they might be free, some colleges don't charge a fee at all, or they have a fee waiver process. So you don't pay a fee to complete the common application. However, you do pay a fee to submit the application to that college. At Swarthmore, that fee is waived for all students coming from Africa. All students in Ghana, every high school student in the entire country, you don't need to pay the $60 application fee for Swarthmore. But if you applied to the University of Arizona, they might not be able to waive your fee. So you have to reach out to every college or university to which you're applying and ask that question. So we want to ensure that those barriers are broken down and that your financial circumstances are not preventing you from applying to Swarthmore. So that's the common application. And if you fill out the link, SWAT Pass, you will get those instructions on how to do your application fee waiver within 24 hours. So by tomorrow, you'll have an email in your inbox that says, this is exactly how I don't need to pay the $60 application fee at Swarthmore. The CSS profile also does not charge a fee to complete it. But once you submit it, it's like the common application. You have to pay a fee for every college where you submit it. This is a lower fee. It's not as much as $50 or $60. However, this money does add up. Colleges can make a decision on whether or not they give you a waiver. So you can write to a college and say, do you offer a waiver or a waiver code? It's a code that you input in the CSS profile so that I can submit my CSS profile. Some colleges have a process and they'll say, yes, we do. Here is your fee waiver code. There are other colleges like us that will say, fill it out in CSS profile, don't submit it, submit your international student financial aid application instead. It's a PDF, so you complete it and then you send it into us. I think you actually upload it into your financial aid portal once you're ready to do so. The financial aid office will receive that. Let's say you are going to be admitted to Swarthmore. The financial aid office will reach out to you and say, are you able to submit the CSS profile? And you might say, I don't have the fees. I don't have the money to do that. We will then give you a waiver code so that you can submit that to us. So again, can you apply for admission and apply for financial aid for free at Swarthmore? The answer is yes.
Thank you so much, Andrew. This question goes to my colleague in Accra, Benis. And our cherished viewers would like to know whether the embassy is still closed.
Thank you, Margaret. Yes, the embassy is still closed. At this time, I wish to encourage students to work things out with their respective schools. Like Andrew said, for Swarthmore, they've made some provisions. I'm sure every school has also made provisions. We will continue to encourage you to monitor the website so that whenever it becomes possible for people to interview, that when the place opens, you can schedule. But in the meantime, schools are making all kinds of arrangements with their students. So if you haven't done so yet, please reach out to your contact at your school. Most schools are offering online options for their students this fall. So please look into that and continue to monitor. As we continue to do these sessions, if by a certain time the place opens up, information will go out, but we will also announce. But at this time, we do not know which specific date. So please continue to monitor and work things out with your schools. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bernice. Andrew, a question for you. Who qualifies for a need-based scholarship?
So the way that it works is we receive all the applications, all the admission applications. Financial aid and admissions is very separate. So I will not see exactly how much you need for a need-based scholarship. What I'm focused on as the regional director for Africa and Ghana specifically is who do we want on our campus? Who do we want as a Swarthmore student? And that's where we employ looking at your transcript and your essays and recommendations and what you're doing outside of the classroom. And we simply choose the very, very best students that we think are going to be good fits for our community. Then we bring that list of students to the financial aid office and we say, how many of these students can we take? Because we have a limited budget. So we can't take everyone that we would absolutely want. We can only take so many students. And the financial aid office will say, you can take this number of students. And if your name is on that list, let's say we really want you at Swarthmore, then we will provide you with all of the need-based financial aid that you need. So if we have 2 students from Ghana and they're both admitted to Swarthmore, one student has maybe just a dad who's raising them and dad is unemployed. And so there's very little money for that family. That student might receive a full scholarship, all $75,000 that they need to attend Swarthmore. Another student from Ghana has 2 working parents and they can afford $20,000 a year. That student would receive the difference. So minus 75 or $20,000 minus 75, they might receive $55,000 a year for a need-based scholarship. So we need 100% of the difference after your family helps you out, if they can help you out. Now, I want to note though that even though we meet 100% need and we are very generous with our financial aid, there are some things that every student is going to be responsible for until we figure out some new ways to do this. So the visa fees that are associated with getting a visa, those are usually paid for by the student. There are ways that we can work around that. You can get a small loan so that we pay for that if you can't afford that, and we're happy to help you out. There might be vaccinations that you need to get from your local doctor that we require in the United States. So there are some additional fees that you just have to be ready to pay for. They're relatively low fees if you look at $75,000, but I just wanted to make that a note because that's sometimes surprising to students. If you work with Bernice, you work with Margaret, you work with EducationUSA, they're gonna spell this out for you. They're gonna help you figure out, okay, so this is how this college does this, or these are the additional fees that you might need to pay. So you're not gonna be surprised necessarily. You'll know that by the time you get admitted and you're coming to our college.
Okay, thank you. This is something quick for you. Does your institution offer computer science?
Yes, we do. We offer 40 different majors.
To know? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep, we do.
And then he's also asking if he can study and work at the same time. Is it possible?
It is possible, but I want to preface that, or I want to clarify that this is not working full time. If you are working while you're at university in the United States, you're going to be working part-time. That's usually 7, maybe 10 hours a week. So you're paying for those personal expenses that you have on campus. Things like I have to buy toiletries, or I want to go to the movies every once in a while, or I want to eat off campus once in a while. This is not enough money to send back to your family. It's not enough money to pay for your tuition. So if you're thinking, again, we have generous financial aid, but there might be other universities where you say, oh, I'll just get a job and pay for that. And it's not typically how you can do things. So it's usually a very minor or small part-time job on campus, but yes, you can work.
Thank you. How will COVID-19 affect international students' financial aid?
Yes, we have some guiding principles at Swarthmore, and one of those guiding principles is that we are trying to protect financial aid at all costs. So that is very important to us, that students have the resources that they need. So for example, we had to send students home in March. Some students couldn't afford a $1,500, $2,000 plane ticket, so we paid for that. Some students were returning home without internet access, so we paid for that. Some students were staying on campus because they couldn't return home, and we were paying for that. And so it's not just about financial aid, although that's important. It's also about the emergency funding that we have. In the wake of a public health crisis, you want to make sure that you are being taken care of and not just told, go for it. We don't know where you're going to go, but you can't stay on campus. Unfortunately, that is the case at some institutions in the US. And so you have to be very careful in what type of college you're choosing. And that's why I think a liberal arts college is a really good place for Ghanaian students.
Thank you. I have another question. Does Swarthmore offer online programs?
Generally, no. However, just like Bernice was talking about, with regard to COVID-19, we are making lots of options available to our students. So for students, I had a student in Zimbabwe yesterday who had a visa interview and passed it and is coming next month to Swarthmore. And he's starting September 2nd. So he is going to be on campus. However, most of his classes this semester will be online. So he'll have a residence hall room, he will eat at the dining hall, he will practice safe social distancing. You're probably aware, whoever is listening to this, that the cases are increasing exponentially in the United States. And I think there are folks that are working very hard at that, and our college campus colleagues are working very hard to decrease the curve and to ensure that everyone is safe. But even if you're coming to campus, your classes will be in an online format. There are other students who, because the embassy is closed and they can't get a visa interview, or I have some students who have travel restrictions who are not able to get to the US by plane, they are starting their courses online. And so our faculty are working very hard to ensure that you don't have to get up at 3 a.m. to take a course, that you're able to do the same things that other students are. So there are going to be synchronous and asynchronous types of courses and lessons within that course, so that all of our international students are able to do that. So generally, no, we don't offer online courses, but because of COVID-19, we are.
Thank you. So as an international student, can I apply to medical school and be successful if I graduate from Swarthmore?
The answer is complicated. Officially, sure, right? We're going to give you a great education. Lots of our students will pursue medical school after they graduate and they become doctors. The reality for international students is that you're usually not able to take out federal loans. So these are loans that are guaranteed by the US government for US citizens. Medical school is even more expensive than undergraduate education. So we're talking $300,000 US for your medical school education, maybe more. And international students have to qualify for scholarships. It is very, very, very difficult as an international student to go to medical school unless you have US citizenship or permanent residency in the US. I'm not saying it's impossible, but if you really want to become a physician and a medical doctor, I would work with Education USA, understand kind of your options in front of you. And what might be better is that you attend medical school in Ghana and come to the United States for a residency program or to pursue post-baccalaureate or post-graduate opportunities.
Okay, thank you. Do I need to evaluate my transcripts before applying to Swarthmore?
We do not require an evaluation service. I have been reading Ghanaian transcripts for 10 years now. I'm very familiar with what your school is going to submit to us. I know what the West African examinations look like. I know what scale they're on. I know how well you're doing. I know what an A1 and a B2 and a C3, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Those types of things I'm very familiar with, or I think it's a C5. I'm very familiar with, so don't worry about that. You don't need to get that evaluated. I will do the evaluation.
And can students from community colleges also apply for transfer into your college?
Yes, but the same rules apply about financial aid. So if you're an international student, we don't provide financial aid to community college transfers.
Thank you so much for your time, Andrew. I don't know if you have any final words for our cherished viewers before we end our session today. Do you have any final words for our cherished viewers?
Yeah, the only thing that I would say is that I work with students every year, every day, and I think it's very easy for students to focus on things they can't control. And unfortunately, in these days, almost nothing is in our control. So just focus on the things that you can control, like writing your essay and participating in, whatever activities or taking care of your family. Those are the things that are at your fingertips that you can do, but try not to worry too much about how many spots are available. Am I going to get my visa interview? That stuff will play out and we will figure it out later on, but don't use energy to think about that. And most importantly, stay safe and healthy.
Thank you. Bernice, do you have anything to say?
Well, I think Andrew said most of it. Let's not worry about things we can't do anything about. Just take things one day at a time. We are also experiencing this for the first time in our lives. So we're also trying to manage it as much as we can. And remember that Education USA is always around to help you navigate some of the very difficult and confusing things as you go through this process. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Great. That was a great presentation. I thank you all for your time, Bernice and Andrew. Thank you. A big thank you to our cherished viewers for joining us today on our Facebook Live event. We hope you will continue to follow us on our pages. Join us next week, same time, for another great session. Have a good evening.